Hello, everyone. I'm JD Calderon, and this is Indy Comics Explained. And yet again, I brought another fantastic group of independent comic book creators. So without further ado, I'm going to be co-host because, the regular co-host, he had to whip out on me. So we got...
What? Oh, oh, sorry. Caught me looking at porn on my phone. Jesus.
Look at you.
Hot mess. Hello, everyone. Those updates from the game that I play. So,
Terrible.
Hello, everyone. My name is Daphne Lage. I am a cartoonist, illustrator, and comic book artist from New York. I have been self-publishing comics with this guy since 1992, and I am known for the Fantasy Adventure Tall Tales, which just completed a very successful run on Kickstarter. Thank you, everybody who pledged to the campaign. And I am also known for my medieval fantasy drama, Eagle Raven, which returns to Kickstarter in less than a month. So links are in the show notes for the pre-launch page. Actually, it's in the chat. I don't know if it's in the show. No, it's not in the show notes. It's in the chat. Yeah.
Alrighty.
Very professional. Very professional.
Very professional. Let's bring in the other pro.
Yeah, no fair. She gets the producer buttons to put her own pictures up there. And stuff.
Well, hey.
My gosh.
She has the key.
Well, what's good? What's nepotism if you can't use it?
That's fair. That's fair. Hey, everybody. Tom Hutchison, writer, publisher, art director, all things Big Dog Inc. And back-to-back reigning two-time trivia champion. So we'll just make sure that JD remembers that.
Listen, like I said, you can have it. It's fine. I know enough useless information. It's just Jay doesn't ask the right questions.
Doesn't ask the right useless information.
Exactly. He just asks what he asks. Stupid questions.
Even when he's not here, no respect.
Even when he's not here, I know. Chris Albright, how you doing? Introduce yourself, please.
I'm doing great. This is Chris Albright. I have no idea how microphones work, apparently, so I am without a camera. Writer for Clove Hitch, and that's about it.
Okay. Well. How long have you been self-publishing? We'll go.
Okay, so I actually 3 years ago had this dream to make a comic book, and I bit off more than I could chew. And so now it's been 3 years later. I've just been learning the process. So this is the very first thing I'm trying to make right now.
And a link to his campaign is in the chat.
Thank you.
All right, that's cool. And we have it. Richard, please introduce yourself.
Hello, Rick Duree with the Heroic Awards, trying to support indie creators. I've been creating comics for 2 years, and it's a young pup to a lot of people, but to be honest, when you jump in with both feet and you work 10, 12 hours a day writing and communicating with other creators, you kind of just meld in to the community. And that's what I've been doing. And that's what I'm trying to support.
Okay. Cool. All right. Fair enough. All right. So here we go. We have a show question. I'm going to ask it and then we can see how everybody goes. Mr. Lanning is having some internet problems, so we may or may not see him. Mr. Lanning, get your shit together. Because I know he's watching.
They're building out FiOS in his neighborhood finally, so it's affecting everything.
He could have gone to McDonald's and just gotten the Wi-Fi. Come on.
Exactly.
Come on.
All right. So I have a process question, right? Which I don't normally ask. It's all business, So we're all in the creative space. We all write comics. We're all illustrate, whatever. We're all in that space. So what do you consider first? Plot, character, setting, genre? Which one of these things for your current story that you're currently working on, what do you consider first? What did you consider first when you first were coming up with these stories? Let's start with Chris.
Oh my gosh, why would you throw that to me immediately? I was hoping you guys would start and I could play off of it.
Rookie hazing. It's rookie hazing.
Thank you.
Here you go.
So this is the first thing I've started. It was just an inspiration. The setting was given to me because I was just watching like Gundam Wing, right? You're watching anime, you're hanging out, And then you see like these robots get destroyed. You're like, who cleans up that trash? And so I'm just immediately given this plot and this inspiration of like the setting and all that. So that was mine. And then as I progressed and started writing, the actual characters and stuff came later. You start building this out on my side.
All right, cool. So it's all setting first.
Nobody thinks about cleaning up the Gundams. I'm just going to tell you that. That's very unique to you. You must have an insight into anime that we don't have.
He's in and out. I think he's having problems with his mute.
Yeah.
So Rick.
Yeah.
Where do you fall into that?
To me, there's no right answer in this one. I've only written, about 20 issues. They're not all drawn, obviously, but I've written about 20 issues. And it's always about, at this point, it's all about the story, maybe the plot, somewhat about the powers, too, which falls into the character, but mostly that's about plot expansion, which is actually why maybe my comics aren't the best. Let me just throw it out there and say maybe they're not, because I really developed the plot and the world and the world building, but the characters came like way tertiary, way last, and that could be a negatory for me. I'm not sure. And this is what we're doing in the creations is we try to find out what works and what doesn't. And my recommendation to anybody out there, go at it pretty hard and pretty fast, but then be willing to pause and stop and step back and take a break if you are on the wrong path. But, hit it. And then if you realize you're on the wrong path, then correct.
All right. Fair enough. Mr. Hutchison, man of 1,000 IPs.
Yeah. And so that's sort of the trick there is like each one kind of came about in a different way. When I first started, I Critter was the first book I ever wrote. Right. And that came about primarily because I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know what a comic book script was. I didn't know how to do anything, but I felt like I understood the superhero genre as a whole, right? Just 30 years of just absorption and osmosis of comics. I was like, I think I get it. So let me sort of just figure out what my character would be and where I would go. So it was a kind of a combination of, let's make a character that I like and then see if I can do anything that makes any sense with it. And then the next book that I did was Penny for Your Soul. And that was all pretty much conceptual right from the beginning. It was very sort of like, how do I tell a story that sort of sheds a little light on the way that I look at like organized religion and things like that. And then it took deep, hard cuts into, basically the end of days, the Bible, the final days, the 4 horsemen and things like that. I was like, I could use all of these things over a period of time to kind of be like, I'm going to use this for this and this for this and this for this. So it was concept first, and then everything sort of was built to make the concept work. And then it just kind of went from there, like the Wizard of Oz was purely coincidental for me. It was a situation where I had been looking to go get tickets to go see Wicked, the play Wicked. And so that picture of Elphaba with her hat down, like the promotional thing, it just was stuck in my brain. I'd seen it a million times. And
it's
so
an iconic image.
Yeah. And it's a perfect image. So, when I do cons, I drive around all the time. And so this particular time I was coming back from Phoenix, and I was going through Phoenix and New Mexico and Texas. And it was just, it's just cactus and desert and tumbleweeds and stuff. And so for whatever reason, that Elphaba got in front of my brain again. It started to blend with everything that I was seeing, and all the terminology started to blend. So it was like, we have, she's the Wicked Witch of the West, and then we have the Wild West. What would happen if we had the Wicked Witch of the Wild West? And it just started to become this steamroller effect of, okay, what would Dorothy be? What would Toto be? What would the Tin Man be? And by the time I got home, I had a concept, ready to go. So, like Rick said, there's not really a right answer. I don't think that there's ever a right answer in creation, but I think that if you feel that you've got a little bit of traction with whatever it is, whether it's a concept or whether it's a character, don't stop. Keep walking that path, and it's either going to take you to somewhere really cool, or it's going to take you into a dead end, in which case you got to figure out, you got to step back and make a left or a right and figure out how to keep going forward. But if you feel like you've really got something, you know, don't lose the traction, just keep going.
All right. Well, Daphne.
Definitely. I think most of the time it's characters first, because they always start off as doodles. And then it's like I start going, who are you? Who are you? Why did I draw you? Who are you? And then that's where kind of like the story like starts to build from there. Especially with my book Eager Raven. The character started off as a mascot for my portfolio back at SVA days. You know, like when I first started putting together a website, and it's like, and I just came up with this character for just, like I said, a mascot. And then as kind of like, it kind of like moved along, like the more I started drawing more and more of this character, I started asking, it's like, you know, what is your story anyway? Why are you here? You know, why did I draw you? I mean, I know it. I mean, I know why I drew her. It's like she started off as kind of like an extension of, like an extension of She-Ra fan art, and it just kind of like, you know, and it just kind of like, now it's like, okay, you have to be more than that. And then it's like I just started building a story around that, and it's just and then it's like it just got to a point where it's like, okay, now I have to tell this story. And then it's like I've been working on the book since, you know, and I'm still building. I'm a very slow world builder. I world build as I need it. So yeah, but for me, it's definitely characters first. I mean, genre, I don't really think about that much, because I'm always, it's like, you know, I'm a complete, you know, I have complete fantasy brain rot. So I'm always there. So there's nothing to think about. So yeah, so it's the characters that kind of like start that process for me.
All right, fair enough. The project I'm working on currently, literally today, is something called Dreamweavers, which I started when I was first starting out in this business in 92. And I think I was about 18, 19 years old when I first started. And I know back then it was definitely a thing about the characters. So I have 4 characters ranging in age from 8 to 12. Well, there's one 8-year-old and 3 11 and 12-year-olds. And they're all role-playing game character. They all play role-playing games. And these 4 kids, when they go to sleep at night, their role-playing game characters come into reality, and they inhabit their bodies. And they run around, and they're demon hunters, and they're doing all this crazy stuff. And I was definitely, and they're, you know, and I based them out of New York City, so that was kind of easy. I live here. So that part of it, but yeah, it was definitely the characters for me. And then with the Oswald Chronicles, it was actually the reverse. It was story first, and then the character developed afterwards. So that was, you know, a complete reversal on that one. So that's how it works out for me. Daphne, you got a question?
Oh, what do I? What?
Yeah, I don't know, dude.
Well, okay. Let me think. So I guess I'll bring up something. That we were talking about before. So on Threads, I follow a lot of authors, and there's currently a discussion about people not picking up the first novel of a series when the series isn't complete. And a lot of authors answer back that if the first volume doesn't sell, then it kind of like breaks the incentive for them to finish the series, which to me is a very easy way for me to write your series off. So when it comes to comics, though, it's like, is the story that you're writing, that you're doing, something that is very dependent on that initial support, or is it something that you're going to continue anyway? And And second part of the question, if an author says, well, if a creator says that, well, the second part of the question is that how long does a series have to be before you go, no, I'm not investing the time in that?
Okay. Rick,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I have a thought on that actually.
Uh-huh.
You know, when I first got into comics, I didn't get into them because they were comics. I got into them because I heard they were great stories. And so I looked up online, like IGN or wherever, and I said, give me the top 100 best storylines ever written. I didn't care if it was Marvel or Image or whoever it was. I didn't care which character it was. It could have been, you know, Howard the Duck. It didn't matter to me. I wanted the best story. What I came into was the books that had the best story often had more than one graphic novel. Now, sometimes they had one. I really like Craven's Last Hunt. I really like Planet Hulk's my favorite. But some of the ones that I also really enjoy are like Fables, very long series, or the Green Lantern series of the 2000s, very long series. And nowadays, when I'm getting into a story, I backed 60 Kickstarters last year, which I'm happy to do and support. What I realized was a lot of the stories in those books were, you know, a part one of 3, one of 4, one of 5. They weren't thinking 4 graphic novels down the road. They weren't thinking that. And I actually read some from the library, and I contacted the guy from Image who was the writer, and I said, hey, I really liked your story. Where's volume 2? This has been done for 4 years already. Where's volume 2? And he emails me back, which was great. A lot of us in the indie community, and even in the more popular, more well-known writers, they'll get back to you pretty quick on Facebook, which is great. And he said, well, we're not writing anymore until it's picked up by Hollywood. And this is just, it was just a terrible thing in my heart. It hurt me because for me, I'm for story. Like I said, I'm a world builder in my own stories. I think my world building is like premium. I really believe that. Maybe it's too prideful of myself, but I believe I have that skill. Character development for me, not too good. My wife will agree. I don't have this interpersonal thing going on very well. She'll help me improve. But the idea is that these writers today are thinking short term, and maybe Big Dog Inc. You guys have a lot of stories. The market may not be me. I might not be the majority of the market. You know, I may be people who want a 3 or 4 or a lock and key, you know, 6 graphic novel story. Maybe they just don't. They're not the majority. They're a minority by far, and we don't financially can't support those kind of books. What do you think?
Well, you ran into something that I've been telling people for the last 20 years, is that comic books have become a pitch process for Hollywood. That's primary, especially when you go into places like Image and things like that. It's just like, these guys are coming out. They've got an idea. Here's my idea. I'm going to throw it against the wall. We're going to see if it sticks. And, you know, not all of them do that. Some of them have ideas like, let's say Saga, right? And Saga is a new idea, but he'll run it for a period of time. He'll take hiatuses and whatever, but he'll come back to it. Brian K. Vaughan. But yeah, comics in a very, very large sense have become, I need to get this picked up to put 50 grand in my pocket, you know, and then we'll do some more. And that's really the whole thought process. It's not even like you were talking about. It's not even that they're thinking short term necessarily, because he even said, well, we're not doing more until. So clearly they have a plan for more. But from a financial sense, you have to have something that's going to work for you and is going to actually put money in your pocket, at least to pay for itself. And if it's not doing that, then it doesn't matter how long term you are. At some point, it becomes a business decision. Like, look, you know, my Kickstarter only makes $1,000 and I need 5, or, you know, we need to sell 5,000 units. We're only selling 3. At some point, business decisions have to come into play, regardless of how much you love whatever it is that you're doing. For me, I've always felt like comics are meant to be long form storytelling, but I came into comics like it was like, oh, here, I'm buying X-Men 210. That's like my first X-Men book. I'm just in the middle of this immense series. Well, most recent issue of this, you know, long running series. And it didn't bother me at all. I'm just like, well, I'm just starting here and I'm going in. And if I want to go backwards, I'll work backwards. And if I want to go forwards, I'll work forwards. But now again, in the last 20 years, you have a combination of endless spin-off miniseries. So it's like X-Men, here's your X-Men, but then you've got just here's an Iceman miniseries, and here's a Storm miniseries, and here's a Rogue mini, or just whatever. It's just like, here's all this stuff. And then the series itself will reboot itself every 1 to 2 years. So 1 to 12, 1 to 24, it'll reset. 1 to 12, 1 to 24, reset. So I don't think that comics have any, particularly when you get up to the higher levels, I don't think there is any sense of long-term storytelling in those house of ideas anymore. And it's partially because, these guys that are doing them, they want to come in, they want to put their stamp on a book for, like I said, a couple of years maybe, and then move on to something else. It's, the days of guys working like Chris Claremont being on a book for decades, like that's over. That's gone. You're never going to see that again outside of somebody's own book, like Robert Kirkman does his own book. But working for somebody else, that'll never happen again. So I think we've run into, and even the mindset of even artists, like Marvel at one point said, artists don't move the needle on sales. Like, Jesus Christ. I mean, what are you talking about? But that's their thought process, right? So even in the artist sense, they're fine to run 6 issues and get another guy, and 6 issues and get another guy. So everything in comics, for the most part, in the larger sense, is short-term storytelling, short-term thought process, short-term sales, short-term hype. How do we do it right now? We'll worry about 6 months from now in 6 months.
But here's a pushback though. Maybe that's our fault. This is actually one of the reasons why.
Oh, it's absolutely our fault.
Yeah. I'm a capitalist, so I'm owning my own actions within the market. But when I was, I guess, 1.5 years into my storytelling and doing my Kickstarters, and I was building my own following, I said, you know what? I backed 60 books this last year, and I'm just going to be straight up honest. Like, some of them just weren't good. Some of them, the lettering was terrible. I mean, that's just kind of a indie comics thing, but the stories weren't right. There were potholes in the character development where you're like, what's happening here? Oh, the creator must have been thinking it, but didn't translate it into the book. Sure. There were issues. This is indie comics. We're okay. We can say this kind of stuff, but there were also some really good ones. And what I didn't see in the market was anywhere for us to point this out. And I started talking to people. I said, hey, should we point this out? And everybody's like, no, don't point it out, because we're all trophy winners and we're all supporting each other and we're all going to be great and everything's perfect. And then I saw this one guy, this one artist, he comes on to Facebook and he's like, I can't believe this. Nobody's buying my stuff. Everybody tells me it's great. Nobody buys it.
Yeah.
It's not, we're not being fair to that guy. So I looked at
100%.
his art station, and his art station was terrible. Now I can't draw. Mine's worse, stick figures. Okay. But his was really, really bad. And he's trying to sell art. He's trying to do it for a business. And we as a community, we miscommunicated to him. We didn't help him.
Yeah.
And in fact, he's about ready to walk away from the whole thing because he feels like he's hearing that he's great, but nobody's buying. So the market must not be there, instead of the fact that, he can improve in these ways. There's
a very, and this is a good thing. There's an encouraging wave in comics, particularly in the lower levels where we're all working together and we're all talking about each other's stuff and so on. There's a very encouraging thing. Hey, keep going. Hey, do your thing. Hey, like that. Like, that's great. Like, that's not a problem at all. But there does, just like we talk about the business decision, right? There comes a time where you have to tell people your anatomy isn't right. Your pacing of panels isn't right. Something's not right. It's not working. You have to be able to tell people that. And at the same time, as an artist, creator, writer, whatever, you've got to be able to listen to that feedback. And that doesn't mean you have to just take it on the nose and be like, fuck you, man. But you got to, if someone's telling you like something doesn't work here, just take it with a grain of salt and be like, okay, let me hear what this person is saying. And we don't really have that either. We have a lot of people that just are like, my mom said I'm cool, so I'm cool. And that's a problematic mindset to have when you come into a creative field, because you're going to get swarmed by, all of your contemporaries at the time. Whoever else is coming in with you at the same time, they're going to be like, whoosh, well, I'm cool too. And, really the market determines who's cool. I mean, that's just that's the bottom line. The market will determine whether they want what you make or what you don't. But if we're not helping writers and artists to get better, to point things out, look at this, look at this, look at this, they're not going to ever have a chance to bump up. Like you said, lettering on comics is often really bad. That's the truth. I mean, lettering just, and I don't even know. It's hard for me to understand it, because even when I came in, I kind of realized, like, I think we need good lettering. Like, I think I need a letterer, like, that knows how to do this stuff. And so we've always had somebody that at least was competent in what they were doing. And then even they got better as they went along. So, but there's so many folks that are like, well, I can do it myself. I can save myself some money. And I'm like, I get it, but you're not good at it. And it doesn't matter how good your art is, if your lettering is crap, it immediately is like a visual, like, that's harsh. So, So, we do that to ourselves. We have an encouraging environment, but at the same time, we don't have a, what's the term? We don't have
critical analysis.
We don't have that. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Because we don't want to be the dick, right? We don't want to be like, oh, Rick, your stuff sucks. But it should never be that either. It should never be, Rick, your stuff sucks. It should be, Rick, like, I see what you're doing here, but I think if you were to focus on X, Y, and Z, you can level yourself up. But people are just afraid to be looked at as a dick if they're like kind of telling somebody fix something.
Well, this is exactly, and I'm just going to take this moment. This is exactly why we created the Heroic Awards, because we wanted to bring in professionals to come and critique and score with a set of rules and rubric, and then go through and say what was good and what was bad with these books, and really find the diamonds in the rough. Which I will say, we just had our award ceremony in April, just now at C2E2. We found some top of the line books that are now going to move toward national distribution. It really makes me excited that what you just said and what I just said, there are some steps forward in that. I think the market is making some small adjustments, and it has to be through entrepreneurs like both of us, like all of us on this panel, of taking the steps to try to fix what you just said, to start pointing out, hey, this system, in this case for me, it's the Heroic Awards. This system can show how you stand up, how you rank against the other hundreds and more of our indie creators. And people, when I first put the idea out there, this is last November, everybody says, no, I don't want to, artists don't want to hear that somebody else is better than them or whatever. But guess what? As soon as these awards came out, you would not believe the number of people who hit me up and said, please, please, please give me the judges' feedback. I need to know how to improve. I want to submit next year and I want to win. How can I do better? I think we were overcompensating. I think we were apologizing for the industry, for the indie community. And I don't think the community actually wants to receive that. I think they want feedback. And as long as we're trying to help them and being a team, people are going to receive it. I think the weak-hearted snowflakes are really the huge minority, the super, super small minority of the market. Most people want to hear back how they can improve.
Well, I mean, even the professional people that I work with, if I see a problem and I tell them, hey, that perspective's off. Hey, we got to fix that in the storytelling. It's not working. Like right now I'm working with Nia Rufino, and she's doing a book for us, the interiors. And even she's been doing this for longer than I have. She's listening to what I'm telling her. She's like, oh yeah, I see what you're saying. Like, let's turn that. Let's do this differently. She's like, yeah, that's fine. So even the pros are not going to be like, well, I mean, there's always those guys that get butthurt when someone tells them you didn't do it right, like do it a different way. They're going to get butthurt. But most artists are going to be open to the sort of editorial process, I think. And like with your awards, more so than even like where they stack up with each other. I think one of the cool things was you posted a bunch of stuff that was the judges' sort of comments, like, hey, judges said this, and here's like 10 things that the judges said about what they saw. Like, that's the valuable part. Like it's anybody who read those lists of like, hey, the judges said lettering needs to be fixed, the judges said this, the judges said that, then you've got actual like information for everyone. It's not directed. It's not like that guy needs to do that, and that guy needs to do that, and that guy needs to do that. It's just sort of a general, hey guys, this is what the guys think you should. You have
hard data.
Yeah.
You have hard data at that point. But hold on, we're going far afield. So let's have Chris answer the question. He's just sitting there, lonely.
Oh no, I was listening. I appreciate everything you guys are saying. I was trying not to butt in, and I was taking notes. We were going all in on this. The first part, the first part of Daphne's question there, talking about making money and stuff. I come from like a musical folk punk background of you just make art to make art, right? Like that's the only reason you do it. You have something you wanted to put out in the world. That's why you're doing it. I didn't know if comic books had money in them, and when I first started this, I was just going to give everything away for free. A nice gentleman stopped me, said, "Don't you dare do that," and said, "At least try." So what I've seen, there's not money in this, and I don't care. It's like this is I want to tell a story. And then talking about the stories that that it's one issue and then they stop. I hate that with a passion. I've got into like 3-issue comics and I'm like, oh, this is great, why aren't we moving forward? And it kills me to find out that I will never know how it ends. So I fully like Alan Moore is my favorite. The man does his research. He's a hermit. He doesn't even want to be known, and that's what I appreciate. Is he wants to put that art into the world. Talking about the lettering, actually, I believe Tom is the one who mentioned that, and how we should be a little more hard on things. When I first started lettering my comic, I was using Procreate. I'm sure you guys all know that's wrong. And I didn't know that, and so I'm learning how.
And
to
Comic Sans? Did you use Comic Sans too?
Yeah, I use. Yeah, exactly. And so I'm learning how to use Procreate, and I spent a week learning it, and I lettered the comic in it, and I thought it looked the most incredible thing in the world. Right? I was like so proud of it. And I'm taking it to my friends, and everyone's giving that feedback loop of, oh, this is great, this is beautiful. And then I took it to a nice gentleman who actually has put work out into the world. And he said, this is the worst thing I've ever seen in my life. And I was like, oh, okay. But I needed that. And so from that point on, I got the whatever the lettering book is. I'm so sorry, I can't remember it.
The Essential Guide to Comic Book Lettering by Nate Pecos.
Absolutely. I follow him on Facebook. I'm so sorry for that, man. I should have remembered it.
That's she only knows it because she stole my copy.
Yes.
Oh, okay. But then you sit there and every day you're angry, right? You want to throw your computer against the wall because you can't figure it out. It's not Procreate. It doesn't work the same. And you have to keep learning it. And then I did it. I made my first bubble. And I made my first letters, and I looked at it, and I said, holy shit, this is so much better than that freaking Procreate that everyone told me was good. So that's where I'm at on that.
All right.
So, but do you have so you would do your book regardless of how it how it does, because you need to tell a story. But do you have kind of like a limit as to like when other people say they're doing their book and it's like, oh, my series is 104 issues? Like, would that stop you from from buying a series just as much as if someone only put out issue 1?
So I'm so sorry. Maybe I'm misunderstanding the question. So if they have 104 issues,
right? So say that so like say a creator comes out and says, oh yeah, here's my first issue of a comic, and the series is going to be 104 issues. Like, just like with waiting for a series to finish, would somebody saying like their series is 50 issues, or like, do you have a limit as to like going, you know what, that series is too much of a commitment?
You could say that about a lot of things. You could say, yeah, no, I have a limit, I'm not going to do it. But also, like, we all watch Game of Thrones or whatever. We all watch these things that know that they're going to last forever. Maybe they won't finish the books, but we're going to still be invested into them. So as long as the writing is good, as long as the first one can hook me, I'm in. I'll stay. But if it's not good, if it's not worth it, no, of course not. You're going to drop it, and it's next one. Maybe the next one will get made.
I'll tell you what someone tells me that, hey, I'm going to do this for 100 issues. It tells me they have no fucking clue what they're doing.
Yeah,
honestly.
I agree.
It tells me they have no idea. It doesn't mean they can't get to 100 issues, but they should be telling me initially, like, we're going to do a 5-issue arc,
right?
Whatever this is, and then we'll do another arc, and you can keep doing your numbers. You don't have to reset your numbers, but like this is gonna be a 5-issue story and blah 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 blah, and then we'll put a trade paperback together. Like, show me you can do something. That's when I become invested. Not to be like, hey, this is the first issue of 104. No, you're probably not even going to finish your arc, dude. I know I've seen this enough. You're not going to finish your 5 issues. You're going to get to maybe 2 or 3, and you're going to be like, yeah, I'm out. This is not going to work. So, focus. I would tell people, like, you can have long-term goals, but focus on the arc that you're in, and don't make that arc 20 issues, for God's sakes. Like, 5-6 issues, and then you've told a story, right? Because then you collect it all up. You've got a book that you can put in somebody's face and be like, look, I finished something. Damn it. Here it is. Now we're going to do more, but this is a finished story. And that's the selling point. Not that you have delusions of grandeur of 100 issues, but that you actually created something. You knocked it out. You got 5 issues done. Here's the story. And now I'm on to something else. That's the value to your customer.
Cool. All right. So Tom, I'm going to do 104 issues.
Yeah, and that's why I don't buy anything that you do.
Well, technically, altogether, it's 104 issues.
Yeah, altogether.
But he sells it to you in bite size.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Bite-sized pieces. That's correct. Yeah, 100%.
That's how I break it up. Yes,
100%.
Yeah, but I don't know. So, all right, Daphne, break it up for me. The question was, would I buy?
Right. Well, the first one is, do you depend on making money on whatever that first issue is to move on to the next issue? Like, because like a lot of these authors, they literally say that's like, oh, if I don't make money on that first novel, I'm not going to finish the series. I'm not going to bother finishing the series. Like, they'll just outright say that.
Right. I mean, we had the conversation earlier. Now, as a comic book person, as an author, right? If I was just writing novels, I would be like, that is a hack mentality. Because the thing is when I'm writing a novel, it is just, which I have done and I will continue to do at some point. But that's dependent on me getting that work done. Now, with a comic book, it's a little different because I hire artists. So I have to be able to pay them. So I have to generate at least enough revenue to get them their money. So, we have to generate just enough to get them to that place, right? Sometimes I'll pull money out of my own pocket if necessary. Lord knows I've done that plenty of times. But, you have to generate some funds. So in comics, it's a little different. Novelists, I would probably give them less latitude because I'd be like, look, stop being lazy, get down, do the damn work, and just move on. Yeah,
right? George Martin.
There you go. Exactly.
Just do the book.
Just do the damn work. Look, he's not the only one. There's this guy named David Gerald. But anyway, we're not even going to
David Gerald, yeah.
War the Chittor. I'm not even going to go there. He's I think he's even later than George R. R. Martin. I mean, so I have less patience for them. But with comic people, it's a little different. Like I said, you have to be able to generate that revenue to be able to continue the series, especially, if you're a writer or artist, you're doing it all yourself, then I'll be like, I might treat you the same way I'll treat the author. I'll be like, stop being lazy, go do your damn work. You're paying yourself basically. So it just depends.
Yeah, but this also part of your question was like, because you were talking about how fans will come in and see a new thing, like a new book, but they won't want to buy it because they don't know if the rest is coming. That's a valid customer base question, certainly. And I even get it now. I mean, I've been doing this for 14 years. I've got like 14 different IPs, and I still have people that are like, yeah, but you put out a new issue number 1, but are you going to finish it? I'm like, right, motherfucker, I've been doing this for 14 years. How are you going to ask me if I'm going to finish what I'm doing here? Like, come on. But it still happens to me all the time. I will get people come by, oh, that's really cool. When's the trade paperback come out? That's like we talked about, Rick, right? That's what we did to ourselves is we have that wait for the trade paperback mentality. And in the Marvel and DC, it's probably going to happen. But for smaller guys, wait for the trade paperback could mean you don't even get to issue 3 if you're not buying those issues from the small guys, because they like JD said, you need at least the money to break even to get through the issues to get to that done. So it's a tricky thing, but I mean, it still happens to me.
I got a question for Tom. Okay, 14 IP, as you say. Serious question. If you had no financial requirements, remember you said there's a business question. I hear you on that. I hear you. There's no business question in this question. Okay, that's out the window. Which of your 14 IPs would you do a second or third graphic novel to, because you just love the characters of the story so much? You wish you could do it. You don't have the cash or whatever. There's no business model there, but you really want to just write that story. Which one would it be of your 14?
Oh, it's all of it, because they all have multiple volumes already. I've got 6 volumes of Oz. I've got 6 volumes of Critter. I've got 5 volumes of Penny. I've got 3 volumes of Ursa Minor. Like, I love them all. And so now here's the other thing, though. They do all have endings. I have endings for everything. How long we want them to go, that's a little bit variable, but I do know how Critter, Penny, Ursa, Oz, I do know how it all ends. So similar to like Invincible with Robert Kirkman, right? We're in like 24 volumes or something. Like, he had an ending for that. So I have an ending for everything that I do, but everything that I do, I have a desire to do more of it, assuming that there is more. Not everything is designed to be like 50 or 100 issues. Like, some things it's just like, hey, I've got this little short story that I'm telling, and then I'm out. I'm done. That's all it is. But you know, for all, like I said at the beginning, like to me, comics are long form storytelling. So when I designed all of my early IP, everything was designed with the long story in place, and I know where all of this stuff is going. So it's everything.
What percentage of your original base that buys the first graphic novel, the first few issues, let's say, what percentage of them stay on for volume 2 and 3 and so forth?
It's impossible to know because of my bizarre journey through comics. You know, when we started this, we were doing it ourselves. And then when we moved over to Aspen, we lost a ton of people because they all thought we went out of business. They thought we just disappeared because we weren't in Diamond anymore. We were under the Aspen banner, not under the Big Dog banner. So tons of people were shed. And then, but we picked up people through Aspen and you know, did that. And then when we left Aspen, similar things happened, but that's when we were on Kickstarter. So we started picking up new people on Kickstarter. And then over the years, as we were on Kickstarter and we're doing all of our cons, we'd find people at cons like, oh, dude, I thought you were gone. I'm like, dude, we have never stopped making comics in all of our time, whether we were on our own, Aspen, ourselves, or whatever. So we're finding now the people that are like, that thought we were dead. As I do these cons now. So it's impossible to really know beginning percentage, Aspen percentage. It's all pie in the sky, but you know, we have found a very solid, like 300 to 400 backer base for our campaigns. Like, we'll always do about 300 to 400 for sure. Other books have a higher backer base, like Oz, we got up to like 600. Penny for Your Soul, we got up into like 500. So, you know, it varies from book to book, but we built a solid base. And so now it's a matter of getting ourselves back out into the marketing sense of the cons to be like, yep, we're still here. We're still doing this.
I think this is to combat what you said about, if it was Marvel who said that the artist doesn't attract the customer. I think the writer does. I'll just put that as my own belief. I think following Big Dog, they probably just know you create great things, and so they're going to be more easily apt to follow you than a random new person. And I think reputation and history make a difference, especially if you like that certain type of writer.
Well, I think that when someone comes up to a con, let's say, and they don't know who I am or what I do, but they just see the breadth of stuff, it's just like, holy shit, what have you been doing? And I'm like, we've been doing this for 14 years. We've got all these books, whatever. That gives me some credibility to somebody who doesn't know who I am. The more you have on your table, the more people go, oh, this guy's for real. He's not just here with one issue, you know, whatever. I have a sense that if I buy stuff, I'm probably going to see volume 8 and volume 9 and volume 10 and so on. So there's that. And then once they do get to know me and they understand that I do write everything, that doesn't mean that there's a 1-for-1 transfer. Like, a lot of people that like Penny for Your Soul, they don't buy Critter. A lot of people that buy Critter don't like Ursa Minor. You know, there's not a 1-for-1 switcheroo to all the books, but there is enough crossover on the Venn diagram that we can have a steady, you know, sort of backer count, online presence with people that, and again, we have a very different audience. Kickstarter audience is very different. eBay stores are very different. Web stores are very different. There's very different audiences all over the place that, again, Venn diagram, they all kind of overlap a little bit, but if you go into all of these different places, all these different marketplaces, we have people that I only know exist in those places.
Yeah.
And some of them, like a lot of the guys on Kickstarter that are our backers, I don't know who the hell they are. They're not on my social media, at least not that I know. They're not, chiming in or anything. They're not on social media. They're not buying from eBay. They're not like, they are just Kickstarter people. And so, that's one of those things where from a marketing sense, you need to have your toes in as many of these markets as you possibly can to just bring that awareness funnel as wide as you can. And just, make sure people know you exist.
Yeah. Daphne,
Yeah.
answer your own question.
Well, I mean, from the very beginning, depending on the Kickstarter to make my next issue was always a non-issue. Like the story was coming out regardless. Like I always say that I make my books for myself first, and then it's like but sharing it is the fun part. So the process was always to put out the books regardless. I mean, when I started Eagle Raven, I was just putting it on my website page by page as I worked on it. So people were seeing the book regardless, of whether I was on Kickstarter or just on the website. So the monetary gain, although it's nice, it has no bearing as to whether the next issue comes out. Now, in terms of the amount of issues, from the very beginning, I've always said that the series is 15 issues, and it's 15 issues. And the closer that I get to drawing out the end of the series, right now I'm literally penciling issue 13 as we're talking. The closer I get to the end of the series, the more I'm like really telling everybody this thing is almost done. So it's like, it's when I say it's 15 issues, it's absolutely 15 issues. I just recently put out issue 8. The second trade paperback is coming out soon. But the series itself, like before the end of the year, will be completely penciled and lettered out. And I have this thing stuck in my head right now that once I have all these pages like penciled and lettered, then it will be even easier for me to kind of like I guess kind of like just tell people that it's like the series is finished,
Right.
and I think that would make it a lot easier, that being able to say that will make it easier for, I guess, like people who are skittish. Is like, oh, are you going to make it past, a certain, I mean, I would think after 8 issues, I would think people would think that, oh yeah, you're going to finish.
Right.
But being able to say, no, the series is done. Now it's just putting it out on Kickstarter. I think that would make it easier for people to go, oh, okay, you're committed. This is a finished series, so I can safely put my money here, knowing that I'm going to get an actual ending. Yeah. And because me personally, because if I hear somebody did say realistically they had 104 issues of their series, and doing the quick math that I'm bad at, but good enough to realize that it's going to take 9 years for this series to come out. Even if they figured out how to put out an issue a month on Kickstarter, it's still going to take 9 years. And I'm the type that's like, that. Either one, that
challenge
has to be
accepted, Daphne. Challenge accepted.
That has to be a really, really good story for me to even take that chance, or it's like, you know what, I'm going to pass. You know what, I'd rather, let me pick up your trades as I go along. Cause I'm just like, I'm just that type of person where it's like, No. No, you
Mhm.
tell me if you tell me it's like, okay, like it's 4 or 5 issues or even 12 issues, I'd be like, okay, that's doable. But if you're gonna tell me 104 issues, it's like my brain shuts off. It's like all of a sudden you don't exist anymore. It's
Right.
like, oh, you can stop talking now. Because I'm not gonna buy it. I'm not gonna invest the time. So
Question for you.
yeah.
What do you think as you're coming to the end here, 15th issue?
Yeah.
What do you think about, and maybe this is, maybe Big Dog can give us some input as well. Advent Comics is doing this Epiphany engine, this crossover between several books. Crossovers in general in the indie world, I almost never see them. Maybe it's me. Maybe I'm just missing them. What do you guys think? Is that something to be done?
I mean, to tell you the truth, I have been asked to do a crossover for another creator. And because I do already collect his book and enjoy his book, and I'm very familiar with his characters, it is something that I would seriously consider doing, but only after I finish my 15 issues.
Yeah.
Because I really want to get this done. And after, so after I finish penciling the 15 issues, then it's a lot easier for me to think about, like doing a crossover with this other creator.
Right.
But I'd only consider it because I know his work already. I'm familiar with it. I collect it. I enjoy it. But under no other circumstances, though. Like if some company I didn't know came saying, "Oh, we'd like to do a crossover," it's like, "Oh, I'm busy." That would just be my stock answer, because it's like I would have to have like a direct interest in what you're doing for me to even consider it, and it would have to be a fit. It's like it would have to fit. It's like it would just have to fit a lot of criteria that I have to even consider it.
What do you think, Tom?
The crossover has been a thing that people have wanted to do forever. And invariably, it just blows up because people get either too high about it, like, oh my God, we can do this and this, and it just becomes this immense thing. I'm like, no, that's terrible. I'm not doing that. Or it becomes an ego thing, like, oh, my character has to do this. My guys, okay, pass. Or it becomes instantly, let's nickel and dime it. Okay, well, I'm going to put this much in. How much is anybody else going to put in? How do we get money back out? It's like, okay, you're everybody's in different camps of what they need to worry about versus just saying, like, look, Critter and Oswald are going to do a crossover. We're going to have them in a story. It's going to be one issue. We're going to split the cost of the thing, and whatever's at the back end, if any, JD and I split. Like, it's the simplest thing. Now, you still have to write a story that both people are happy with and so on, but that's where the fit comes in, right? Like Daphne said, you got to be working with somebody that you have a sense is going to be like, engaged. Like, for example, what just happened with Brian Pulido and Dan Mendoza. They did a Zombie Tramp and Lady Death crossover. Those guys work together. They know each other. They understand what, where, when, how, and why to do what they're doing. And it worked tremendously well. And now Dan's doing it with somebody else. I won't say who, because I don't know if he's announced it, but it's another big crossover. So he's working with the people that understand who, what, where, why, when. So for me, I've got somebody that I've worked with that we've talked about doing a crossover. It's very much a possibility in the works. For us, it's really more the timing of it, because he's got so much of his stuff to do and I've got so much of my stuff to do. It's like, where the hell do we do it? Like, where do we finally both say, stop, this is it. We're going to put it July 2025 or, whatever it is. So that's the only thing that's held us, this particular creator and me, back. But in other cases, it's always just been it just keeps going sideways all over the place. And the fewer people involved, the better. Like, a lot of times you'll have like, hey, let's do a big universal crossover. Like, we'll get these 5 guys and these 5 guys. Like, fuck no, I'm not dealing with that. But if there's one guy, like, yes, I like your character and I think your character would mesh well with my character. How do we do a thing with our singles and tell a fun story? I'm open to that possibility. And in fact, Ben Dunn over at Antarctic Press, he created this thing called the Superverse, where the whole idea is to bring in all of these characters from all these creators. Ben publishes this stuff. So like, for example, Niobe and Mary Machine Gun and Critter, and it's all under the Superverse banner. So they're all their own stories, but the idea is that we could potentially, like if Max DeVille and I wanted to like do a Critter Mary Machine Gun crossover, we could be like, hey, let's do a crossover. And then AP would even print that for us under the Superverse banner. So it's there. The option is there. But again, the people that generally are gung-ho about it are usually not the right people to do it. It's usually the guys that are a little more quiet, a little more subtle, that you could be like, how cool would this be if we did this and this? And then you might trigger their brain to do it. But when people all just come out like, oh my God, I want Critter in my issue and I want Critter and I want to do this, it's like, nope, you're too fast. You're too fast, man. You're out of control already. And I don't have any faith that anything would ever come of it. So I think subtlety in your approach for these things is sort of key. And then once it's locked in, then you just go big marketing, just like Lady Death and Zombie Tramp.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. Hold on. Chris, do you have any thoughts on Rick's question?
You're a very sweet man. I want you guys know I appreciate you guys having me here. I feel like a random guy that walked in off the street because you guys are on a completely different level. Also, when it comes to crossovers, I'm thinking about, because I'm in a much lower level, right? And I'm thinking about all these like hand-drawn sketches.
Chris, don't think of yourself on a lower level. You're just new. That's it. You're gonna catch up.
Yeah, okay, new. But
a master is only someone who's done it longer than you have. That's it.
I'm thinking about these hand-drawn stick figure sketches, and I'm like, would I cross over with that? No, absolutely not. So no is the right answer completely. I don't think there was any other option there.
All right. Fair enough. Daphne, can you pull up Chris's campaign, please?
Oh, yeah, sure. Okay.
We don't have to do all that.
Yes, we do. Yes,
we got to see it.
So this is the first of 104 issues, right?
Actually, it's 212, but yeah.
There we go.
Thank you.
Let's see. Did I even? I'm pretty sure I got the sound. Hold on. You want me to play the video?
Oh my God, no.
Oh, okay.
No. So hold on. Actually, on the video, I'm not a marketer. Again, I'm a guy who has slowly been learning how this works.
Well, here's the question: how long is the video?
The video is like 1 minute 30 seconds. It was made out of cardboard. We built little props for it.
Oh, we got to see this.
Yeah. Okay. Hold on. Let me make sure. Maybe make sure.
Stop motion video. The answer is yes.
Yeah. Hold on. Let me make sure the sound is on. Yes.
Okay.
And of course, I accidentally closed it. Here, hold on. let me get your link again. Hold on.
So it was a long process to build this thing. We set it on fire in the end, and then I'm in some marketing groups. I'm trying to learn how to do this stuff, and everyone says this is the worst possible marketing video you could have done.
Oh, okay, hold on. Now I really have to see this. Hold on.
Yeah.
Let me find your link here.
I'm already super excited, and I hate videos, so I'm super excited right now.
Daphne, it's in the show notes.
Yes, I'm that's where I'm going. Yes.
Okay,
hold on. There you are. Okay, all right. So let me just make sure I got the sound on. Okay, ready? All right.
Go for it.
Space. Man, the real danger is not actually about those galactic krakens or even about the pesky little space vampires. No, the real danger is about debris left from war. You just imagine it. You're trying to go to your grandma's galaxy, just flying around, and next thing you know, a piece of debris hits that windshield, cracks right through, squirts you out like a tube of toothpaste. And that's why you need the Clo Fit, where we clean up those loose ends.
Dude.
From this point on, it's just
Dude,
burning.
this
Is getting
oh,
Napoleon Dynamite vibes right now.
Bugs in the kitchen, damn mold in the sink. Chugging down the whiskey, yeah, we'll never start to think. What do we do tomorrow? Bugs in the kitchen, damn mold in the sink. Chugging down the whiskey, yeah, we'll never start to think. What do we do tomorrow? Bugs in the kitchen, damn mold in the sink. Chugging down the whiskey, yeah, we'll never start to think. What do we do tomorrow? Bugs in the kitchen, damn mold in the sink. Chugging down the whiskey, yeah, we'll never start to think. What do we do tomorrow?
That's pretty much it.
Dude,
bro.
I'm going to tell you
Bro.
something. I'm going to tell you something right now. I hate videos. I hate them. I
No.
don't watch them. Or if I do, I usually last about 8 seconds. And that was fantastic. Like,
Yes.
that was full on Napoleon Dynamite making a comic book. I love it. Fantastic.
Brilliant.
Do
Brilliant.
it again.
I
do it
really
again.
appreciate that. I really
Yeah,
appreciate
dude, that was
Brilliant.
great. That was great.
As far as marketing, though, it was about I did a little ad to push it. It was about $5 for one click on that, so not worth an ad.
Well, Facebook ads.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're
Always hit and
horrible.
miss. Always hit and
Yeah.
miss.
Yeah. So tell us about your book, Chris.
Yeah. Like I said, it's mostly about trash. When one person described it as I can't remember the quote for the science fiction, but like good science fiction is inventing the car, great science fiction is inventing the traffic jam or knowing what the traffic jam would be. If you guys are familiar with like the James Webb Telescope, it was up, and I think it was like a week later, it got hit with just a piece of debris, right? You know, just damaged. And just thinking about all that kind of damage that would actually go on out there, you know, someone has to clean it. I've never seen garbage men in space. And so next thing I know, I'm just like, okay, yeah, let's start working on this. And I get really obsessed, right? Because I'm also a terrible person who enjoys just lots of junk food, you know, just fast food, whatever. And so you're comparing like that page right there with the Big Bang. It's comparing taking your first sip of soda to a Big Bang, because that's that first hit, you know, just life from it. And so that's mostly what it is just a bunch of space guys, garbage, and Napoleon Dynamite-esque stuff.
All right, cool. Now,
Sounds good. It sounds
where
good.
did
Serious.
yeah, where did you find your artist?
My artist, so like I said, this is a 3-year process. The first year I wrote a script. The next year I deleted almost all of that script because I realized how bad it was. And I hired an editor. And then after that, we got, I wanted to get some sketch work done, just kind of see some sketches. That right here is the first sketch that I ever got done. And I said, oh, wow, it took like a day. And I just was on Facebook, paid $20 for it. Right. And then next thing I know, we're discussing the concept, and she loves it. And we're discussing all these different things that we can do with it. And, you know, here we go. We just took off, and it was going to be a 68-page comic, a graphic novel, but that was too much. It turned out to be too much. So we broke it up in half is what we're doing right now.
All right, cool. Now, this is a one-shot?
The idea was initially for a one-shot. I wanted to make sure, like you guys were talking, you want a complete story. You know, you don't want people to drop it.
Right.
But it costs too much, right? Eventually, you can't keep up with it. So two comics for sure would finish out an entire story. But then as the time progresses, you're thinking more and more about it. And you guys were talking about 104-page comics and stuff, or 104 volume comics, which is ridiculous. I want to wrap this up. I wanted to wrap this up in 8, but because we had to break this, I was like, maybe it's going to be 16. But listening to you guys, I'm learning at the same time. So like, well, maybe I should change my plans.
Gotcha. Now, frequency. Are you looking to do this like once a year, twice a year, 3 times a year? What are you looking at?
So a majority that took this the longest was the payment processes, things like that. If this can break even, then I can almost immediately have. We have the storyboard is completely storyboarded out, colors and things, and so guaranteed we can get that one done quick. But after that, we don't know yet. It's just one of those things where you're just trying to learn and figure it out. Because you guys have done this longer, so you guys know how it works. I'm still learning on it.
Now, here's a question for you. You obviously have a goal, right? And we all know this. There's your goal, and then there's your goal. Or is your goal anywhere near your real goal?
My first goal, the easy goal to get is issue 2, right? Guaranteed. I know I can hit that. I know I'll be happy with myself for completing that. My goal is at the end where it's issue 16, the finish of the entire story. I am nowhere near the end. Absolutely nowhere. I mean, it's written out, but art, lettering, coloring, none of that. I did hire a guy for colors for the next one. So that'll speed up the process, but we're gonna learn. We're just gonna go and we're gonna learn with it.
Okay. Well, my question was actually not was financial. It was like you got your goals set for this campaign. Now, that's your goal for this, but is that your actual goal?
Oh, the funding goal.
Yes.
Oh yeah, 15. That goal hits issue 2. Anything over that is just kind of like free,
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think anything over that mostly would go to coloring, but it's not anything crazy.
Okay. That's fair. Because listen. I mean, I usually set my goals at 500. My goal is like way beyond that. So yeah, and I think that's the case for most people campaigning, right, Daphs?
No.
What happened? Hold on, I'm fascinated by this. Have your pet put in the story?
Oh, there you go.
So you can have your pet put into the story.
I kept seeing people put
now I have to change my pledge. I think
right.
I kept seeing people draw other people into the stories. I've been looking at Kickstarter like crazy, trying to figure out what I'm supposed to do.
Right.
And I was like, no one does pets. I can draw we could draw a pet. This is easy.
That's good. You got a place for a big dog in there?
Absolutely. You see the octopus tentacle? We could do an octopus if you have one. Like whatever you got. Send valid pictures though. We have to know that you have it.
That's funny.
Oh, here you go. But you have the standard put yourself in the story.
Had to have that. That was the standard.
Somebody bought that one too.
Nice.
Because they have no pets. That's
right.
They have no pets.
I think this is a good campaign. I think the story sounds cool. I think the art looks good. I think you have good energy. I think it's unique and different and off the cuff. It's not something people think about, so I like it. The hard part is what you're running into, as all of us are, is getting the word out there, and you have to build that following over years and lots of experience, and that's the tough one. But I think Big Dog is going to obviously send over his octopus pet to buy in for $100, and I'll back it today, no problem.
Yeah, I already threw in. I already backed it right there.
I really appreciate it.
Right. Just on the video alone.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
Look, he set fire to his house for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, it really got scary. It got scarier than it looked in that video. I'm not lying.
Now, Chris, was you said you'd come from folk singing? Was that you singing?
No. So that is a band called Days and Days. They are a folk punk band. I know that getting licensed music is not something you can really do legally. Folk punk bands are independent, and so I'm in that scene enough. And I just shot him an email, Jesse. I shot him an email and said, "Hey, could I please use this song?" And he said, "Yeah." And so I sent him the thing. He said, "Oh, this looks great. I love it. Let me know if you need anything else." And so I really appreciate that. And that's what I love about that whole scene is that these guys own their music, and you're literally what you're doing is you're showing their music too. So maybe someone will love that song. Maybe they won't love the comic, but they'll love that song and they'll get to learn about these guys.
Have you thought about collaborating with them to do a soundtrack for the comic? Because we know creators who do that they
A
make
couple of them.
soundtracks. Yeah.
Mhm.
I on Spotify I have an 8-hour mix playlist just for this comic because music is a huge important aspect of my life. When it comes to actually getting with them for something like that, I need to become established. Right now, I'm not established enough. Once I do something like that, I would love to get in touch with somebody who's not a comic person, who's music, and just start working and doing stuff with them.
Oh, that's really cool, man. That's
I
really
love
cool.
what you said about collaborating with other independent or like an indie band, for instance, other independent groups. That's really what has to happen for us to move to the next stage in our community. I think that's needed. And again, shameless plug. We were at, again, Heroic Awards was at C2E2 just now. We felt like they did a great job letting us be there. We really appreciate that. But we also want to be at a con that really focuses on the indie creators. And so we were going to start our own con in St. Louis next year to host the Heroic Awards. And then we realized that there's a reason that you have 17 Funko Pop stations. And that's because it's just they're trying to make some money and it's very expensive to do a con. Let's just be real about it. And so we said, you know what? Why don't we make it an indie creator con, not just an independent comics con? And so indie music and indie video and indie comics and art all come together. And hopefully the goal is we start collaborating with each other and sharing each other's art to make each of our projects better. This is my goal. I hope that we can do it at our con, but you're doing it already with Clove Hitch. And I had to follow Tom's example, and I just threw you some bucks on there because I support what you're doing. But even more important than a couple bucks is I shared it on my page, and I think we need more sharing, not 100% all the time, not flooding everybody. But when you see a project that you really like, speak highly of it and put it on your page, and people will trust your review. I think that needs to happen. Now, I don't share many people's stuff because if I start doing that, then everybody thinks I'm just fluff, But I liked what you did, and I like your efforts, and I think that Tommy got it right. You did that live video. That's unique and different, and we have to stand up for unique and different. That's really what we have to point out. And what catches our eye and what's cool. So thanks for being the weird guy.
Because I always have to appreciate a creator who, you look at their book, you look at their campaign, and you can you can literally feel the enthusiasm for the project.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like I don't know why it feels like that's rare. But it seems to be, and especially after that, it's like you know what? If you were just tossing a book on Kickstarter just to sell it, you would not have done that video.
Oh, absolutely not. I had my kids help me paint everything too. After listening to the first part of this episode here, Rick, I was a little scared. I was like, oh, he's going to be really mean to me later. And you've been really nice. But then you're like, oh, you're the weird guy. So like, oh, he is mean. It's just a little mean. So it's okay.
It's okay to be the weird guy. It's okay to be the weird guy.
Listen, believe it or not, we're all the weird. We're all the weird guys and weird gals.
Yeah, we're the weird peoples.
Yes.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have gotten this far or lasted this long if we were.
I mean, look, Tom is wearing ears. Daphne is wearing ears. I got mice behind me. I mean, Rick is wearing gold.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. When I was a kid, I thought gold was so tacky, and it was all stainless steel.
I love gold.
The gold was so out. Even my wedding ring is this like silver, But as soon as I started doing this trophy thing, I'm like, whoa, no, gold is so fun. So yeah, gaudy is in.
Okay.
No, I said earlier, that is a wonderful shirt. Could you stand up again? Can we see that shirt one more time?
Here we go.
That is beautiful.
That's straight out of Aquaman's closet right there, dude.
Yes. Yeah. I just watched Aquaman 2 just this weekend. I like that movie. I don't care. I think it's fun.
I'll fight with you about that on another show, but that's okay.
Tom will fight you about movies. Yes, he will. but we will always suggest Laser Blast.
Always laser.
Right.
Well, the first 15 minutes and the last 15 minutes.
Last 15 minutes. Yes.
Yes.
So Rick, the statue, what is that? Is that one of the awards? What does that represent?
Yeah. This is the Heroic Award. Let me see if I can get a better picture for you here. This is the actual Heroic Award. It's like 6 pounds. It's this like metallic feeling. We want, this is so weird. Just like that video we just watched, Clove Hitch, right? Something stood out that there's something of substance here. There's substance here. That's what I'm getting from Tom's comments earlier. And when we said we were going to do an award show, I said, no Amazon $20 plastic all-in ribbon trophies. None of that. We need to get a real like Oscar, right? And I was I guess lucky enough to have supported and produced a TV show on YouTube called Tattoos and Turnpikes that won a Telly, and we were really honored. And it came in the mail because they got me one of those Telly awards, and it was hefty and it was metallic and it was so cool. And I said, this is the kind of thing that we have to have for independent comics. Something that's substantial and weighty, and people will hold up and say, yes, I want one of these. So at the award show, E-Junkie actually won a couple, and he was holding them both. It was great. You guys got to watch the video. It's really cool. It's good to be a part of something that people in the beginning were afraid of a little bit because they didn't want to be judged. And then in the very end, it was like, I think we had 32,000 independent votes on our People's Choice Award. It was just massive. And I was in Indianapolis that week, and I was posting throughout the day, and every single minute, another vote. Every minute, 4 days, for 7 days, every minute, another vote. I'm like, how is this even possible? But I guess I experienced my first viral scenario, and it got me a little bit giddy to see it. It was great. People really appreciated voting and being part of something that represented indie. Because when we think about indie awards, we think of Eisner or think of Ringo or something. But to be honest, Image wins tons of stuff, and I love Image, whatever. But they're just not really indie anymore, in my opinion. Yell at me if you want, but I feel like there's the 3,000 new comic books that go on Kickstarter every year in Indiegogo, and we don't even hear about them, but the 30, 50 backers, even Big Dog has 300, and been around 14 years. And these books, these stories, in my heart, I felt story. That's what I said when I first talked to you today. I buy story. I want to hear story. And our cultural zeitgeist is losing these stories because no one's being able to see these diamonds in the rough that are just going by the wayside every year. And now we can learn about space junk. So there you go. We're back in the game because Clove Hitch is in the world, and that we should celebrate that.
All right, cool. I mean, are you looking at, is that the design you're gonna keep for like I guess you're doing this again next year. So
yeah,
is that the same design you're gonna keep for next year, or are you gonna change the designs annually?
The cool thing about it is we have this amazing team of volunteers. People just kept on messaging me, hey, I want to help out. Mm-hmm. And we ended up with 20 paying sponsors. We ended up with 100 plus judges, over 200 nominees, 220, I think, nominees. We had a whole full-on 11 or 12 media partners that were part, and they were all everybody's just volunteering and helping. And it was really awesome. So we have a 3D printer guy, Peter. He's with Comiker Press. And he does this 3D modeling things. And so he took a 3D model of this guy, and we're editing it and changing it. So it'll be our own trophy, if you will, reimagined for next year. We found these and we use them. And they're beautiful and they're weighty and they're awesome. And it'll be slightly different for next year. But once we have that mold, we'll just keep that going forward. But yeah, we want to have a brand in the indie community where we can be seen as reputable and really help bring some light some of these great works. And I hope you guys submit. Everybody can submit. Just so you know, I don't read any of the books that get submitted unless I buy them. I feel it's honorable. I don't have any weight in the judgment. I don't do any. It's none of my opinions. None of my interests are involved. This is just about the 100 judges saying their scores and the scores telling us who the winner is. And even when I pushed back, I'm kind of ashamed to say this, but we have this advisory board of these great comic professionals, and one of the publishers had been nominated for a category, and both of their books were in that category. And I said, well, only one winner per category, so why not just have their best book, be in place, and their second book we'll pass it up and we'll bring in another publisher to fill that spot so we can, celebrate more publishers. And the panel says, no, because those are different letterers or they're different colors or whatever. And we need to really celebrate the best of the best. Who cares what publisher it was? We care about the creators. And I was pushed back on that, and I'm rightful to have pushed back, and they corrected me on that, and we went with their way. And the numbers should prove out. And this is why I love this system, is that it's not about one person or one vision or one feeling or one theme. It's about all of us together working together to really come about and bring light to what is truly amazing art. And as long as we're doing this, we're going to stave off the energies that are behind different computer AIs and things, where we're going to bring honor and respect to real work and real hard labor. And we need to keep doing that. And we need to have our hearts there.
All right, cool. I mean, listen, as far as that award goes, or I don't know however your statue is going to be next year, you should have Dave Sims' head on it. That's what I think. I think you should have Dave Sims, maybe Will Eisner. I don't know. Either
well,
way.
Sims, I think he's nominated for Lifetime Achievement Award.
Probably.
And maybe you three, I respect you three. I'll tell you that for sure. I've seen you online. This is the first time we're meeting, but I would like to get your guys' honest opinion. I've put out there at least 5 times and gotten 70 comments each time about who Lifetime Achievement should be in Indie Comics. And the Lifetime Achievement has come back different, massively different, all 5 times that I put these out amongst the community, with, again, 70 comments on each time I posted it. So I don't know which way to go. And I guess I'll pose to you guys, in the last 20 years, let's say, something more recent, nothing back into like the 80s, but something more recent, who in the Indie Comics community would you say deserves a Lifetime Achievement Award, who came into the scene sometime this century? We have people that we're going to nominate, like Dave Sim from the previous century. We're going to do both the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles founders and creators. We're going to do the names that you would come up with on top of your head. We're going to do those, but nobody's bringing up anybody really in the last 15, 20 years. And who do you guys think we should nominate?
Well, here's the thing. If it's a Lifetime Achievement Award and it's the last 15 to 20 years, I would qualify. And I shouldn't qualify.
Oh, please.
I should not qualify.
Qualify.
And now that's not to say there aren't creators that have done stuff in the last 20 years.
We heard it here. Tom says he qualifies. Nominate Tom. That's what I heard.
But technically, me and Jose have been at it longer than
That's
Tom.
right. Yeah, JD.
So
JD has done it longer. So I think
more qualified than Tom.
Yeah, I think a Lifetime Achievement Award should be like, you got to the 80s should be almost like the minimum in my brain for like a Lifetime Achievement Award. Because there's a lot of guys that can kind of come in and sort of make a pop for a little while, but then they don't. Yeah. They don't keep going, they don't have the longevity of it. They've got like that moment in time. Yeah. But then they don't kind of keep going. So I don't even know. I would have to really think about that. I mean, maybe somebody like a Brian K. Vaughan, maybe a Robert Kirkman.
Kirkman's in there. He's a nominee already. I'll write down Vaughn. That's a good idea. I'm open to write down anybody I suggest, but who we've received so far has been 100 people, and they're all either they're dead or they're 75, and nobody has as far as I remember, almost no one's nominated anyone who came in, in the last since 2000. And I think we need to celebrate people who have been in the industry a minimum 15 years. But if you've been in the industry for 15, 20 years in the indie community, you've done a lot.
When did Terry Moore come in? Was it in the 90s?
I was just thinking of him too.
Yeah, was it in the 90s?
Yeah.
So Terry Moore definitely.
Mark Schultz. I would put Mark Schultz up there.
Yeah, but Mark is like, Mark Schultz. Yeah. Oh, but Mark is like from the 80s.
Yeah, I'm just throwing out a name that maybe people haven't even thought about. Arthur Adams, again, old guys, but that guy has reinvented himself so many times.
Yeah, I mean, the reason why, like, my bias is always going to be Wendy and Richard Peavy.
Wendy
but
Richard, yeah, sure.
yeah,
Yeah, but they're
Um,
definitely they're almost from the 70s.
yeah, they're from the 70s. Yeah, I think like ElfQuest came out like 2 years before Star Wars.
Yeah.
You know, but like Terry Moore, definitely, because it's like when his book came out, I mean, it was just so unlike everything.
Mhm.
You know, I mean, like the art style, the topic, the story. I mean, although the
And he's gotten better. I mean, I
Yeah.
think his work has gotten better over the years. Like
Right.
I stopped with Strangers in Paradise. I stopped reading that, but I started reading a bunch of his other stuff, like Serial. I just finished. I enjoyed that. There's like 3 or 4 other
Rachel
omnibus
Rising,
things.
Echo.
Echo. I enjoyed Echo. Rachel Rising. I enjoyed. I thought Rachel Rising ran a little longer than it should have, and
But he admitted
that.
He
Yeah,
admitted that.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a tough one because I would always throw Bill Willingham in the mix.
You know, I mean, it's like
That's-
also I
this
think
is
the
my favorite.
Hernandez brothers were more 70s too, right?
Yeah. And Bill's from the
Right.
80s.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you're looking for somebody within the last 20 years. That's
I would. Yeah. I mean, for me, it would be Terry Moore. Oh, because it's like, yeah, it
He's
was
from the
just
90s.
so
I guess we can.
different.
Yeah.
You know.
What do you guys think about this? Is a big controversy. What do you think about, because I've seen this now in the last 2 years a lot, a mainstream person who worked for, let's just say Jeff Johns, for instance, one of my favorite writers, and then he finally goes indie just the last couple of years, and he starts trying to do this indie book he's pushing out. And of course there's Miller as well with the Millerverse trying to go his own way. And I guess the question is, do you recognize someone as an indie creator if they built their foundation and their following in the big two, and only recently they go indie? Maybe they're not a lifetime achievement for indie, but are they now an indie creator, or are they still a mainstream? What's your thoughts? And there's no right answer to these questions. This is the kind of thing that's been bouncing around online on my pages for months now.
Yeah, I mean, that's like saying, is Todd McFarlane indie?
That's a big question. I ask that a lot.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things. It's like, is Todd McFarlane indie? Is Eric Larson indie?
The Spirit Awards. No. There was an incident when there was there's an awards for independent movies, the Spirit Awards, and this was around when The Phantom Menace came out. Yeah, and George Lucas was nominated for Filmmaker of the Year for the Spirit Awards because technically he was an independent filmmaker.
Right.
And I remember watching, I don't know, I've never watched the awards ceremony before. This was the first time I watched it. And I have never seen so many really angry, drunk, independent filmmakers in one room because nobody was happy with that. But not for nothing though. It's like they weren't happy when Sofia Coppola won a Spirit Award either, because as far as they were concerned, she's legacy. She's legacy filmmaking. It's like you're telling me the daughter of Francis Ford Coppola is an independent filmmaker. It's like really like she didn't just have an in, you know. But the gnashing of teeth you could hear.
Yeah. It's like
to me, it's
George
like
Lucas.
We shouldn't. I don't think there should be. Now, again, you're talking about like guys like McFarlane came from Marvel and built themselves up. I don't think we should penalize because of where you started. If you're doing something and you built something on your own outside of that, like he left his job that was paying him to take a shot in the dark. Now, maybe it wasn't too dark because it's Todd. It wasn't pitch black shot, but it's still a shot in the dark. All of these guys did, and they still took a chance, and they changed the industry. So even just from that concept, all of those dudes should have some aspect of like, look what they did for the indie world, right?
Yeah.
And then with the success that they had, I don't think they should be penalized for their own success either. So even if you look at, if you're going to talk about, like, for example, Todd McFarlane, sure, dude has become an empire. So is he still an indie just because he's succeeded? To me, yes, because he's still doing it. Todd McFarlane Productions, that's what he created and built. So I understand the whole thing, like what Daphne's talking about too. That's there's definitely going to be people that are like, yo, Todd's not indie. I'm like,
there'll be people who'll be pissed off if at the thought of Polito.
Polito, yeah.
You know, that it's like what's the level of success that you have to have? Like there seems to be a ceiling that people will accept. Like
Terry Moore might be it.
You know, that if you reach a certain, I guess, because Terry Moore is not like some kind of like ridiculous breakthrough, breakout. You know,
he's done very well for himself, but
but in like, kind of like a very modest way. Like he's not like honestly, it's like I think that most people forget his name until they're reminded. Type of thing.
But
I'm going to write these down in my list. And keep adding them. Maybe we'll use them. You know, we'll do our best. This year, we're going to be doing this in about, I think it's 4 or 5 months from now. We're going to be doing the Lifetime Achievement as well as other categories like Best Indie Series and Best Character and a whole bunch of other awards. We're going to try to do it every 6 months to keep the energy going. But I mean, this is the kind of dialogue we've been having. And I love the feedback. What I fear, I guess, is that there's going to be haters. But then again,
there's always.
I'm a baseball fan, and I love hating the ump. My dad says, if you can't hate the ump, there's not baseball anymore. So I like that idea that we need to have somebody out there calling balls and strikes, and hopefully it's the judges, and then we can be mad at the judges and move on to the next season, because that's what makes this kind of thing enjoyable for some people, is being able to rile up against the man, if you will. So maybe that's exactly what we have to do.
Just vote Tom Hutchison. That's all.
There you go. I way ahead of Todd McFarlane. I'll throw in Mike Mignola. I think he would be my number.
There you go, Mike Mignola.
I mean, I was just looking at my wall, my huge section of wall that's just Mike Mignola books. His BPRD, Hellboy, and
also I'd throw out Jim Ballant from Tarot Comics.
Jim's been at it for a minute. Jim's been at it for a minute.
And he obviously jumped off Catwoman to do it, but he has been, all about that life ever since.
Well, you said Jim who? I missed it.
Jim Ballant, Balent.
Okay. Also pronounced Jim Ballant, depending on,
I always pronounced it Ballant, and then I heard it Ballant, and I was like,
Ballant.
Oh, it's Ballant.
I always thought it was Ballant.
I think it's Ballant.
Right.
Just pronounce it in the French accent, ballet.
Yeah.
There you go.
Ballet. All right, guys, I have to go with my wife because we're doing the Mother's Day thing. But I got to say, I really, really appreciate you guys having me on and letting me take over a bit of the conversation about the Heroic Awards. And I love the indie community, and you guys have been doing this for a long time. I'll make sure to pop in and do comments and shares on your YouTube so we can boost up the traffic. It's always good to see what we can do to spread, to beat the algorithm.
Yep. Thank you, Rick. It was awesome.
Yes, sir. Nice meeting you.
Good seeing you guys.
We'll see you.
Nice meeting you.
Bye.
All right. And then there were 4.
Now, nice and cozy in here.
Nice and cozy,
The weird guy made it past the first cut.
Yeah.
Nice. Tom, it's up to you, man. What you got a question, or Chris? You got a question for us? You want to ask us something? Maybe
no one prepared me for questions.
I got you guys. When it comes to writing characters, I work in a work truck. I'm driving all day long. You guys just talk to yourselves like as the characters, because like all day long.
You mean you're not supposed to do that?
Just making sure. I'm just making sure in public. Right?
Listen, when I drive, there's sometimes I'm on the road for days to get to these cons. So 100% my brain is running. That's where that Oz thing came from. In my brain, I'm like, Okay, Dorothy Gale, she can't wear ruby slippers. What would be cool? Oh, ruby spurs. Well, Toto could probably still be a dog, but we know she's got to ride a horse, so Toto's a horse. Like, that's where it came from. It's just me monologuing out, these concepts. So yeah, 100%.
I mean, not only monologuing, you're acting them out.
Looking like a crazy person at the stop sign.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely. How else are we gonna look? It's I'm literally in the shower trying to act out scenes. Going, will this work? How does this work? Like even like repeating dialogue and like, oh, it's just say it like that. Maybe they should say it like this. Maybe it's like better like that. It's like, yeah, it's not stop.
Yeah,
see, you're learning that you're not the weird one.
There you go. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, for me, I don't necessarily act it out or speak it out, but you can catch me quite frequently with glazed eyes.
Yeah.
As I'm staring off into the universe.
Yeah.
And all it is just random scenarios running through my mind endlessly. And it happens all the time. So.
Yeah, and I had to get into the habit of having a notepad in the car because I was running into problems where I would have these ideas while I was driving and I was like, fuck, that's really good. And then I'd get to the hotel and I'd be like, oh my God, it's gone. Where did it go? So I had to have a notepad so I could just jot things down.
The notepad, I have went through 2 phones and every time it's like just like 2 gigabytes of notes on those phones where you're like, oh, I got to save this now. Like otherwise it's gone forever. So I understand that.
Yeah. I'm old, so I write everything long form.
Yeah. I have like 3 legal pads over here that are just, it's filled with notes. It's filled with stuff from Kickstarters that I'm building. It's just, I've moved it. I had a list of like all of the special days that we were using, like alien abduction day and stuff. I had a list of all of that and I was like, this is terrible. So I put that all into a spreadsheet. I had a list for Comic Cons. It's now on an Excel spreadsheet so that it's more organized. I can actually make use of it. So I'm becoming technologically aware, but I still have notepads.
No, the future is now.
I send myself emails. I have, it's like just the other night, I was just like, the cat's bothering me, trying to get me to go to bed. It's like, no, I gotta figure this out. And I have like this whole email of notes that I sent to myself so I can access it on my computer the next morning. So
yeah, I'll do something. I actually do something similar. I'll send myself an email. Because if I don't, I'll be like, it'll just be gone. All right. So look, all right.
So this is where we talk about Jaws 3?
Yeah. Why not?
Jaws 3D. Put your
3D.
respect on the name where it belongs.
It's going to be like every show that I'm on now, whenever there's a dead moment, I'm going to be like, so this is where we talk about Jaws 3D, right?
I thought we were going to talk about Laser Blast 2.
Laser Blast 2 would be good. I
never want to hear anybody talk about my shitty taste in movies ever again.
Listen, I was just watching The Great Wall, so
Yeah.
Oh, that's rough. That's rough.
Yes, it is.
Wait, The Great Wall, is that the China movie with the white
Matt Damon?
Yeah.
Oh Jesus.
Yeah.
That's rough.
All right, here I got a question for you guys. What do you guys read to inspire yourselves?
Ooh.
Who do you read to inspire yourselves? Chris, go for it.
Read. It's been a long time since I've actually sat down to read. Driving a lot, so a lot of it is inspired through music.
Okay. So who do you listen to?
What?
Who do you listen to?
Oh, it's all indie folk punk music. It's all these guys. They're just saying random
Napoleon
stuff.
Dynamite soundtrack.
Yeah, exactly. But my favorite stuff back in the day was, the classics. It was the Neil Gaiman. It was the Alan Moore. It was those guys. The Dark Knight Returns was incredible. That was the one that actually hooked me, and I was like, oh, this is what a comic book is. And so those kinds of things inspire me. Television, it's just all these random shows, because back in the day television was trash. It was junk food, and then slowly it became prestige television, I think is what they call it, right? Where
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah.
oh, these matter now. These are real stories. USA Channel had Mr. Robot, which should have been on HBO or something else. It was so well written. But that's inspiration is everywhere when it comes to that kind of stuff.
Cool. Tom, who are you reading to inspire you?
I don't read books like at all. I haven't read a book in
Tablets, hieroglyphics,
20
cave
years.
paintings.
Like I can't do it.
Well, do you read comics? What comic do you read?
I do read comics, but it's very erratic. Because I only have a few things that I buy like on a monthly basis.
Right.
And then generally I'll, like when I'm at cons, I'll just dive through the $5 trades and find, trades and stuff. So of late, the most recent thing that I bought was I have the first 4 volumes of Gunslinger Spawn, which really I only bought because of Brett Booth's art, because I love what he does, and I liked to see what he did from a visual sense. Like he and I kind of, I think, are kind of in sort of similar tune, because he does a lot of stuff that's very cinematic, a lot of like horizontal stuff, and kind of beat for beat. So I was kind of vibing on how he presented the story that way, and I was like, that's pretty cool. So I got those. But like old stuff, occasionally I'll just dive into old stuff for the fun of it. But I don't really, I'm kind of like Chris, is like, I don't read for the purpose of inspiration anymore. I feel like that happened when I was in my 20s and 30s. Like I was everywhere.
How do you control that? How do you control for that?
What do you mean?
Like how do you like read something and not be inspired by it?
It's not to say that I can't be, but I'm not reading it for the purpose of, like, I'm not going into Watchmen to like learn how Alan Moore did it. Like, show me, master, how you did what you did. So that's not to say I can't go in and enjoy it, and pull something from it. But a lot of times I'm there for the experience. I'm not there for the lesson anymore. But if someone's able to like slip something in there, and I'm like, oh, I see what you did. Like then I'll pull from it. But yeah, I'm a lot like Chris, where it's a lot of music, a lot of tones, a lot of just sort of put me where I need to be.
You're vibing.
Story. Yeah.
Real quick, Tom, what's the last thing to inspire you that you listened to or watched?
So
it's classic John Williams.
It is. This is the new 2-disc set that they just put out. So it has every beat of the music from the movie, including, for those that don't know, there was actually a theme made for when Quint died, but they didn't use it. It was all just silent and water and sound and screaming and wind. So, but Quint's death is actually on that track. So that was cool. So yeah, I do a lot of, because I'm writing a shark book right now. And so I have all of the Jaws soundtracks, all 4 of them. And I will just run them as I'm writing. And so I am in the water. I am on the boats. I am everywhere that I need to be when I'm writing that stuff. I'm writing a book right now for a different publisher called Plan 39 from Outer Space. And so I listen to a lot of X-Files soundtracks to take me where I need to be in that tone. Like, again, I write a lot of things now very cinematically. People have told me that. So I know it's working, because they're like, yo, this kind of feels like a movie. I'm like, good, because that's the way it's supposed to feel. And so all that music takes me where I need to be as I'm doing the writing. I can't do any music like that has lyrics or stuff, because then the lyrics are throwing me off. But it's all just, straight scores. That's where most of my sort of inspiration time comes from. But it's very specific. It's hyper specific. It's like, I'm writing sharks today, I need my shark music. I'm writing aliens today, I need my alien music, that kind of stuff.
Cool. Daphne.
I'm a dangerous question for me, because right now I'm in my fantasy smut era. I'm just reading a lot of it's like I've taken up the habit of reading like a lot of fantasy erotica, but I try to intersperse it with different types of other fantasy. Like I read The Magicians, I read The Witcher. Also in the past, I've gone through the entire bibliography of Bret Easton Ellis and Cormac McCarthy, and so I'm not just completely brain rotted. I try to read The Great Gatsby at least once a year, but what's funny is that I really don't read a lot of comics, especially not lately. It's all pretty much novels. I don't know. I guess it's like that's where it started, and that's pretty much where I'm ending is with novels. So like I don't know, like for some reason, just especially lately, like I would rather read an 800-page book than a 32-page comic. And I can't really, that's just where my brain is at right now, so I'm getting a lot more inspiration through novels to do my comic than actual comics to do my comic. So
Well, see, and just so everybody knows, I do read books on occasion, but
the novelizations. Oh, I love those things. I used to read so many of them when I was younger. I think it was the novelization to The Empire Strikes Back, which was my favorite. I love all the extra stuff. And then what's funny is that someone it was Joe Linsner had posted up excerpts because he had gotten his hands on the novelization to Escape from New York. And because of seeing that, I started doing a novelization for my comic. So I'm not only going to have a comic, I'm going to have a novel that goes with it. So I guess in the end, that's why it makes sense that all these novels are now something that I'm getting into, because, prose is now factoring very heavy in what I'm doing, so yeah.
And I did that too.
Yeah.
I actually adapted the first volume of Ursa Minor into a novel. So I wrote a book.
Well, release it.
I did. It's on Amazon.
There you go.
You can get a physical copy, or you can just get the digital, Kindle thing.
You did the whole EPUB thing. Yeah. No, I just figured out how to code that, so I'm very happy. So we're converting all our prose, even Oswald, into EPUB so that people can read it on their Kindle. So.
Originally started out as all prose, and then then when I amazingly got some money, and of course, what else am I going to spend it on but making a comic?
Right.
Because degenerate. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I read a lot of stuff, and the problem is like, the stuff that that inspires me is people like Mike Carey and Gaiman, obviously, Alan Moore, Frank Miller, all those guys. But sometimes it is interesting finding an author like I'm blanking on his name. The guy who wrote The Magicians.
Lev Grossman.
Lev Grossman, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like I remember I had the first book just sitting on a shelf for like 3 years. And I had to go someplace, and it was on a train ride for about an hour and a half. So let me just grab something. I just grabbed it, read the first 15 pages. The first time, didn't really get into it. Grabbed it again and said, "Oh, you know what? Screw it. Let me just try one more time." It hooked me, and it hooked me so bad. I read those 3 books in 7 days, and the only reason it took me that long is it took Amazon a few days to get me the other books. So I probably read all 3 books in like 4 days. And when I run across stuff like that, I mean, that's the sort of stuff I find really inspiring. So, The Magicians, fantastic books. If you ever get a chance to read them, I would always suggest them. The TV show is good up until the 4th season, but it's not the same thing. I would definitely.
But it has nothing to do with it. It barely has anything to do with
barely has anything to do with it. But I still enjoy it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to show you how completely degenerate I am right now. I have wood art for this around my house. I don't know if you've seen this, but there are lottery tickets out there.
That is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen in my life.
This is how deep I am in this.
And you have a pet octopus, not a shark? Was that?
I'm going to have to get a pet shark. Obviously,
Okay.
obviously, I'm going to need a pet shark. Yeah. So.
All right,
Crazy.
let's close out this show. Let's close out the show with High Five Studios question. On your projects, have you ever pivot on a active storyline? Example, the main character X, but then issue 1 is released and the fans leaned into a different character. Tom.
I don't care what the fans say. I write what I'm going to write, but I have pivoted on my own in that regard. I've definitely, I kind of have said this before. I kind of write organically. Like I know, like with an issue, I know that I need certain bits of information have to happen. But as I'm writing through the scenes, if I'm going straight and I realize, oh, there's a better way, I might make a left turn and then come back to the information that I needed. So I will pivot and kind of do whatever I need to do as long as the information that I need to have, revealed is still revealed. So, but as far as like, that's what I call the Boba Fett effect, like people, who's that guy in the background? Like, it doesn't matter. My story is my story. And if they key in on something, they can enjoy it, but it's not going to affect the way that I write.
All right, cool. Chris, what are your thoughts?
I mean, I'm with Tom on that. I don't have a full one out. However, I have written the scripts, and writing the first script, you look back on it after a few months and you hate it, you delete it, you try again, but then you find your rhythm. And after I found my rhythm, I had a whole, story that I was going to aim for, a whole arc that I wanted to do, and then after I found that rhythm, these characters start kind of getting their own voices. Once they're drawn, they start becoming their own people, and you're writing them down and you're going, oh no, he wouldn't do that. That's not who he is. He's going to say this, and it's just kind of flowing, and you're like, oh, that is not exactly what I was planning on before. So that's the most pivot that I've really had is hearing what they wanted to say.
Cool. Daphne.
So I finished So I finished scripting Eager Raven before I put out the first issue on Kickstarter. And then once I did the first issue, I was asking around, like for other people to look at it. It's like, oh, what do you think of just to try to get kind of like get pull quotes. And one creator, ironically, who also did a shark book, Ben Lacey, he did the book Shark of War. He goes, well, I read your story. I read your first issue and I have questions. And at first I go, uh-oh. It's like, uh-oh. Right. But the thing is, though, is that he actually had legitimate questions about the story. It's like, and he had brought up stuff. Like first I had panicked because I go, oh my God, how is he getting all these questions out of the first issue? It's like, but the questions he had really made me think. And I'm like going, oh my God, I have to answer these questions somewhere in the story, because he was asking stuff that I didn't even think about. But thinking back, it's like, oh yeah, that is kind of an issue. And I had to rewrite, I had to add in / rewrite a scene that I finished, that I had finished drawing out like 4 issues ago, because just because of his questions, like all these years, I've had his questions sitting in my head, and I rewrote one of a scene to accommodate the information that he was asking for. And I think that it added so much to the story because I answered his question. I actually sent him an email back after I had finished rewriting the whole thing, actually thanking him, going, it's like, look, because of your questions on that first issue, I now have a better ending for the story, even though I had the thing already scripted out. So that was I think like the closest to pivoting. I mean, it, like honestly, it's like the story is the story, and it's like, and if the audience wants something else, they can go get somebody else's book for it. Because this is not a Burger King. You do not get it your way. So, but I think like that was like the major one. I mean, I'm always tweaking the world building, so I'm always kind of like changing stuff and kind of retconning stuff if I can, if I have the space to do it. Like if the issue's printed, I leave it pretty much. But if it's something that I could add it, like I can add in, like I came up with a better idea for something, if I can add it in, then I add it in. I try to do that. Like that's kind of the close to retconning that to pivoting that I've done so far. So yeah, definitely it's fluid until it's printed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. I don't think, because I've already usually this stuff's already written, right? So by the time anyone gets to me, it's already I'm already like 8 issues in, So I mean, yeah, usually it's I'm pretty much done by the time it gets to the end. But as far as like, probably like Tom said, I mean, I'll pivot in the story when it needs it, right? Because you'll have that point where you're just like, yeah, maybe I have to go this way I have to go right instead of left. And then you have to just make that decision to go in that direction. And then that way and then of course, that'll sometimes affect your outcome of the story. And then as long as everything works out, it works out. But that's part of the whole writing thing. You just go in there and you just do what you can, and you just have fun with it. And that's the key to it. I mean, you got to enjoy yourself somewhere.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah. So listen, we made it to 2 hours. So we did it. So, all right, Tom, you're gonna be at conventions for the next 4 weeks or 3 weeks?
Next 3 weeks, and then skip, and then another con. So 4 and 5 weeks. Yeah.
Right. That's crazy.
So this weekend is Motor City. The weekend after that is Traverse City at C4. Those are both Michigan shows. And then I go to Oztravaganza the first weekend of June. That's in Chittenango, New York. And then I skip a week, and then I go to Albuquerque for Duke City Comic Con.
All right, cool. All right, well, very nice. Good luck, sir. Have a safe. You're driving.
I'm driving. Yep. So God knows what I'll come up with on 3-4 weeks worth of travel. Yeah.
All right.
Come back with 8 new IPs.
There you go.
Your phone has a notepad. Use that.
That's right.
It's gonna be fine.
That's it. He said he was learning. He's learning new skills. So Tom, please let everybody know where they can find you and your work.
Yeah, pretty much we live on Facebook. That's where everything starts. Then we go to Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Patreon, all that kind of stuff. Actually, Patreon gets all the stuff first because all the Patreon subscribers get to watch kind of how the soup is made, from layouts and designs to logos. They get to watch everything happen in the background, and then it all ends up in social media at its appropriate time. So if you like to watch the creative process, that's what our Patreon is for.
All right, cool. Chris, where can they find you and your work, sir?
Facebook, at Clove Hitch, and then I guess Kickstarter at Clove Hitch. I wasn't ready for this, so I assume that's the places. We're good.
All right, cool. Daphne?
You can find me at my main portfolio site at egoworks.com, EGOWRKS. But I mostly post to Facebook. That's where you can find all my sketches and current work in progress and any live updates of any of my projects. And also you can find me on YouTube for 500 plus videos of how I do my comics and everything. And for my semi-weekly art live streams Wednesdays at 4 p.m. Eastern. So everything is at egoworks.com.
All right, there you go. You can find me on Facebook, YouTube, all these different places. You can find the Oswald Chronicles currently running on Kickstarter. Got another 7 days, so go jump on that. And just remember, everybody who is here, they all have campaigns or websites and stuff going on and books coming out. All the links are in the show notes. Go check those links out. Go buy their books. Go check out Chris's book. He has an awesome book. Go pick up some copies.
He just picked up another backer too.
There you go. Nice. So thank you all for being here. Just remember, read more indie comics, especially ours. Have a good night, everybody. Thank
Good night.
you. Good night.